Rejoice, celebrate, do a happy dance. We finally have an electric car that isn't a crossover, a city car, or a 2-ton SUV. We now have a 2-ton estate. Yes. Welcome to the BMW i5 Touring, specifically the £100,000 xDrive M60. It's basically a 5 Series estate that runs on batteries. Yes, they will also make petrol and plug-in hybrid versions, but this BEV edition should appeal to those looking for an electrified Beamer with a more practical body style. So if you're familiar with my review of the BMW i5 Saloon, then you'll be mostly up to speed with what the Touring has to offer. The front end is brilliant. You've got this lovely light-up grille that looks sensational, especially at night. You've now got a modern remix of the BMW twin headlights, and then along the side, we've got some 20-inch aerodynamic wheels. BMW do the best wheels in the game, don't at me. And then we've got these M-style door mirrors here, finished in carbon to match the trim at the front. Aerodynamic door it's angry. Aerodynamic door handles, and then these distinctive creases at the top and the bottom, which just break up the mass of the car to make it look a bit more interesting in profile. But then we get to the back, and this is why we're here, isn't it? Let's face it, there aren't many premium estates on the market, but for the first time, we have one. Thank you, BMW. The i5 Touring is the same size as the Saloon. It's 5 meters long, that's 97 millimeters longer than the previous 5 Series Touring. It's also 32 millimeters wider, 17 millimeters higher, and has the largest wheelbase in its class at just shy of 3 meters. Although there isn't anything really in its class, so take that figure with a pinch of salt. So looks-wise, the back end is actually quite interesting. You've got these split tail lights which wrap around not only the bodywork, but also onto the tailgate. You've got a little bit of a rear diffuser down here. Love this color, by the way. This is called fire red, even though it's more of a cherry in my eyes. But enough foreplay, I know why you're here. Let's crack open this badunka trunk. You can kick it and it will open up. Nice quiet mechanism. And then inside, 570 litres, which is 80 litres bigger than you get in the Saloon. The parcel shelf has 2 settings, so that's completely covered. You do that, then it goes to the middle, and that opens it up completely. Quite a large space, I think you'll find. And underneath, you've got a little bit of space under there for a couple of bits and bobs. Nice, usable space, and a lot more versatile than the Saloon. Fold the rear bench down, and the space increases to an impressive 1,700 litres, which makes it a fantastic companion for hauling large objects, especially with its flat load area across the back. So it's a practical car. In the rear, pretty spacious. Good leg room with these little cutouts in the seats to give you even more space. Good foot room. My legs aren't too high up around my ears, which is a problem in some electric cars. And a nice big panoramic sunroof, which lets in a lot of light. We've also got a couple of cup holders down here, nice and handy. And you've got 2 USB ports, plus individual controls for the rear, including heated seats in the back. The one thing I don't like about the space in the rear of the i5 Touring is that with these seats, there's nowhere to put your gadgets, nowhere to hide anything. That's a bit of an oversight if you ask me. As for the front, watch my review of the Saloon and you'll get a good idea of the Touring. It's nice with materials that look and feel premium, especially on the steering wheel and dashboard, with an interaction bar that changes color on command or during activation of different drive modes. There are drawbacks, including twin phone holders, only one of which actually charges wirelessly, some very limited center console space, and a distinct lack of physical control buttons. In general though, it's a nice place to hang out. Let's go for a little tour in the Touring. Okay, I am in the M60, the top dog model, with twin motors and a lot of power, 607 horsepower and nigh on 800 newton meters of torque. So it's rapid. 0 to 62 in 3.9 seconds. That's around 0.1 seconds slower than the Saloon. And top speed, well, we'll find out what top speed is in just a second. We'll get to that test. But needless to say, it's very, very quick. There's a few different driving modes in this car which you access using the My Modes button on the center console. So you've got personal, sport, efficient, expressive, relax. The one you're going to use most is sport, which turns the light bar red, and then makes the car very, very angry and also causes it to make a very interesting noise. And then you've also got my second favorite mode, expressive. That's cool, isn't it? Now those noises are actually composed by Hans Zimmer, whose name apparently you can't say unless you say the word legendary before his name. But yeah, the legendary Hans Zimmer, he of movie score fame, he made the noises for this car and they sound wicked. There's a lot of electric cars out there that don't actually make any noise at all, Teslas included, but yeah, this just makes it just a bit more interesting to drive. I know it's not a real engine note, but at least there's something going on. That is very cool. What's the i5 Touring like to drive every day? I mean, lovely is the simplest way I can put it. It's extremely quiet, extremely luxurious feeling, and it just wafts down the road in a way that makes you feel happy just to go for a drive. The steering is nice and light. I love the feel of the steering wheel as well. It just feels right in your hands, and it gives you a lovely connection to the road. There's no slackness around the dead center. The pedals are really good, so you can actually modulate the accelerator really nicely. You don't have to go flying down the road. You can drive it gently and precisely. The brakes are good for the most part, although the brake pedal can feel a bit inconsistent at times. So sometimes when you come off the brakes, you get a lot of regen, and then at other times you don't get much at all. So maybe there's some calibration issues to sort out, but on the whole, it's actually really nice. The controls feel really good as well. The indicator stalk and the wipers sound tremendous. Listen, hear that? Not the sound of the wipers, but the actual clicking of the stalks. It's just premium. It's like breaking a Twix. I do like that. And then you've got the crystal material for your iDrive controller, your volume knob, your start-stop button, and your drive selector. Yeah, it's just a nice place to sit. Like the i5 Saloon, the i5 Touring comes with a boost paddle behind the steering wheel. The idea being that if you want a bit of extra power, you pull that and you get a 10-second countdown. The car sharpens up instantly and it just takes off when you accelerate. I do like that noise. There's just something about it that makes me feel like, I don't know, I'm in a video game or something. Because when you get on the pedal, yes, Hans Zimmer, whatever they paid you, worth every penny. Is it fun to drive? What I will say is that it's a lot more enjoyable than your typical electric crossover or electric SUV. What you find when you jump in those cars is that they're a little bit too high off the ground and don't feel agile enough when you're going around corners. But this, by virtue of the fact that it's lower down and has really good suspension control, actually is fun to hustle through the bends. The i5 comes with a variety of suspension types. The cheaper eDrive 40 with 340 horsepower and rear-wheel drive uses air suspension on the rear axle. But this top model, M60, includes Adaptive Suspension Professional with electronically controlled shock absorbers plus active steering and active anti-roll stabilization to keep it flat in the bends. That in particular really helps ensure the ride is smoother and more composed. Is it as much fun as, say, an Audi RS6? Jury's out. In the RS6, you do of course have a big howling twin turbo V8. You don't have that in this car. You've got a sort of screeching metallic sound, which is nice in its own way, but I can see some people edging more towards the RS6 than this. The jury's also out on the efficiency. Both versions of the i5 use a large 81.2 kilowatt-hour battery, which should mean a best-case scenario of 277 to 314 miles on the M60, according to WLTP figures. In reality though, expect around 200 miles on a full charge. Good enough? Maybe not, especially if you like to use the motorway. But if you do like to use the motorway, then the i5 has a few clever tricks to make cruising a bit more relaxing. As well as having the usual adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist, the i5 Touring has some really clever self-driving technology. So if I hit this IO button and then go into this mode button, and then I can choose this pretty much automatic assisted driving feature. And what it does is it lets the car drive by itself without any interaction from me whatsoever. We've now got some green lights on the steering wheel, and there's a camera monitoring my eyes to make sure that I'm paying attention to the road ahead, and the car is literally taking care of everything else. I'm not accelerating, I'm not braking, the car is just literally getting on with it by itself. I'm actually driving through some roadworks right now, and there are some really confusing lane markings. There's white lines and yellow lines, and it's actually quite confusing for a human, but the car knows exactly where it should be, and it's just taking care of everything by itself. Another thing this car will do is change lanes automatically, and there's two ways you can do that. One is just to indicate, and if there's no one in your blind spot, it will actually change lane by itself. It's changing lane. Will it crash me into the center reservation? No, we're alive. That works really well. Another thing you can do is to change lanes using your eyes. If you set the car to a specific speed and there's someone in front of you reducing your speed and there's an empty lane next to you, the car will know the lane is empty. It will then ask you if you want to indicate by going into the next lane. If you look across and check it's empty, the car will know that you've looked and it's safe, and it will actually complete the lane change. Here we go, I've set the speed to 210 kph, but there's a caravan in front of me. I should get a little alert on the screen now asking me if I want to change lanes because this is too slow. There it goes, it's changed lane. That is so creepy. I'm not sure what to think about that. It makes me want to hold on to the wheel nice and tight, but yeah, the technology does work, and it's very, very clever. Right now, that only works in Germany, Canada, and a handful of other countries, but apparently it will be rolled out to other countries, potentially including the UK, very soon. While we're on the motorway in Germany, the home of the Autobahn, it's worth checking on that top speed as I promised earlier. In reality, there wasn't much room to stretch the car's legs, but we did find a small window to absolutely send it, where the car managed to reach its official top speed of 143 miles an hour. Not bad if you're in a hurry. But what if you're not a speed demon? What if you struggle with something as simple as parking? Another really cool self-driving feature in the BMW i5 Touring is the remote parking. What you do is you fire up the app and then you choose your maneuver type. It will either reverse out of a space in a particular direction, or go backwards in a straight line, or along a chosen path. Now, let me see if it will actually work. A live demonstration for you. I'll choose Get Started, tilt my phone forward, and then backwards. Now I'll tap the button to reverse, and I am standing ever so slightly in the car's way. Will it run me over? Will it stop? No, it's turning the wheel to avoid me. And look at that. Yeah, it's actually gone around me. That's really cool. Will it hit this wooden post back here? No, it stops automatically. I mean, totally pointless feature, but quite clever. And that's not the only fascinating tech on the i5. As you might have seen from the i5 Saloon, there's a fun, if fairly pointless selfie mode that takes pictures of those on board. There's a comprehensive in-car entertainment package with the Bowers & Wilkins speaker system that is actually less impressive than I'd hoped, and streaming video services that you can use whilst parked up, for example, whilst charging, although the quality of the content is slightly hit and miss. Speaking of charging, the i5 will charge at 205 kilowatts, giving you 10 to 80% in around half an hour. BMW is also rolling out a very impressive update to its sat-nav that can calculate your route, planning the most efficient charging stops according to the fastest locations, availability of charge bays, and even the cost of charging, rerouting you on the fly if conditions change. So what do we think of the BMW i5 Touring? Well, automatically we should love it because estates are cool and there aren't enough electric estates on the market. So simply by existing, this should win our hearts. But there is a little part of me that is a bit disappointed that, especially in this top model, the thing cost £100,000. Is that a bit much? I kind of think it is. But then again, everything is expensive these days. If money's not an issue for you, or you fancy going for the slightly cheaper option, then I can thoroughly recommend it. It is a beautiful looking car. It drives fantastically. It's luxurious feeling. It's quick. And it's absolutely packed with toys as well. The i5 Touring is a lovely car and makes a break from the tedium of electric SUVs and crossovers. Go get it. Thanks for watching this, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you are interested in buying or leasing your own BMW i5 or anything else, head over to autotrader.co.uk where we'll offer you the best deals on new cars. Check us out and don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.